Welcome to the deep dive. Thinking about university funding. Yeah, it can sometimes feel like you're trying to read a map with invisible ink.
It really can. It's a big financial step, especially for something like law studies. And just figuring out the funding is often hurdle number one.
Definitely. So today we're taking a closer look, a deep dive, into one specific guide from a university. The goal is to make that map visible, show you a potential path to financial support based on their info.
Right. Our source is literally their guide to their own scholarships and bursaries.
Yeah.
And it's not small numbers they mentioned, over £3 million available in the fund.
Wow.
So our mission today is to pull out the really essential stuff from this document, demystify how they say their application process works, and highlight what you need to know.
Exactly. This isn't just reading a list. We're digging into the details, the implications, the practical steps outlined right here in this guide. It's like a shortcut to understanding this particular university's funding setup. Let's get into it.
Okay, so first off, that headline number, over £3 million.
Yeah, catches the eye.
And the guide immediately links it to their goal, helping students achieve ambitions, whatever their background. They're upfront about acknowledging the cost of uni.
Which is interesting, right? They're not just saying, here's money. They're framing it as tackling a known barrier.
Precisely. And the guide even says its purpose is to break down common myths, the feeling that scholarships are just too hard to get or understand.
So they know people feel that way and are trying to address it head on with this guide.
Seems like it. And they're clear on timing, too. This specific info is for the 2024-25 and 2025-26 academic years.
Got it. And there was a note for international students.
Yeah, just a quick one saying they need to check specific international awards. So this deep dive is really focused on what this guide says for likely domestic applicants for those years.
Okay. Big fund, clear goal, tackling myths, specific years. So the next big question the guide covers: who actually gets this money? What's the eligibility based on?
Well, the guide lays out two main foundations.
Mm-hmm.
It's either based on need or it's based on merit.
Or sometimes both.
Or sometimes a combination, yeah. Pretty standard stuff. But there's a really crucial piece of advice they give right near the start. Almost sounds counterintuitive.
Oh, what's that?
They strongly recommend that you plan, if you can, to cover your costs without needing an award.
Really? Why say that in a scholarship guide?
Because the awards are limited. It manages expectations right away. Basically, apply, hope for the best, but have a plan B. It highlights the competitive nature.
Okay, that's actually quite responsible advice up front like that.
Yeah.
So understanding that, how does the guide say you actually go about applying?
For the majority of the awards, they say it's pretty streamlined. One main application generally covers you for most things you might be eligible for.
One application for most awards, that's definitely a plus. Less paperwork, less confusion, hopefully. But what's the absolute first step? Like, when can you even start?
This is vital. You can only apply after you get an offer for a course.
Ah, okay. So offer first, then funding application.
Exactly. And the guide says how to start is simple. Follow the link they provide in your official offer letter. That letter is the key.
So the offer letter does double duty acceptance and your entry point to the scholarship application described here. Does the guide offer any tools to clarify what that main application covers?
It does. It mentions there's a grid inside the guide itself. That grid shows clearly which specific awards fall under that main application you access from the offer letter link.
Useful. But I sense there's a catch.
There is, and the guide points it out. Some specific scholarships and bursaries need a separate application. And the details for those exceptions, you'll find them in other specific sections of the guide. They call them scholarship accordions.
Right. So the takeaway is get the offer, use the link in the letter for the main application, check that grid.
But definitely keep an eye out for those specific awards listed elsewhere in the guide that might need their own separate process. Don't assume everything's automatic.
Got it. Okay, let's circle back to the need-based criteria you mentioned. The guide gets into detail on widening participation. What exactly does the guide mean by that?
So the guide defines these widening participation awards as being based purely on need, and they use very specific criteria to determine that need.
Then, the purpose.
The stated purpose is to make sure these awards go to students from backgrounds that are statistically underrepresented in higher education. It's about trying to level the playing field, essentially.
Makes sense. How does the application process handle determining this, according to the guide?
It says when you click that link in your offer letter to start the application, you'll basically be asked to confirm which of the specific widening participation criteria listed in the guide apply to your situation.
Okay, and this is where the guide gets really specific, right? For the 2024-25 and 2025-26 years.
Extremely specific. This is where you see the details. Should we run through the points they list?
Yes, let's list them out directly from the source. This is crucial for anyone wondering if they might qualify based on need according to this guide.
All right. The first set of criteria listed are about personal circumstances. They list any experience in local authority care,
Oh, okay.
estrangement from your family,
Right.
having refugee status,
Mm-hmm.
being the sole carer for a parent, or if you're living away from home, the sole carer for a sibling,
Wow, very specific care situations.
and also having a registered disability.
Okay, that covers a range of circumstances. Then the guide moves on to low household income with another detailed list.
Yes, and again, super detailed. It lists demonstrating low household income through being in receipt of certain benefits or specific situations.
Okay.
So it lists being in receipt of income support, job seekers allowance, or employment and support allowance.
Okay, those are specific legacy benefits.
Then universal credit.
The current system.
Also being in receipt of asylum support or living with a parent or guardian who is.
Right.
Being in receipt of free school meals.
A common indicator used.
Being in receipt of a 1619 bursary in England or the EMA equivalent in Scotland, Wales, or Northern Ireland.
So support received during previous education.
Exactly. And also learner support for further education, FE19 plus, or the equivalent FE funding in Scotland, Wales, or Northern Ireland.
Okay, that's a very comprehensive list of benefits and support schemes. Is there more on the low income side?
Yes. Two more points that actually tie specific income thresholds to benefits received by parents or guardians you live with.
Ah, okay. What are those thresholds?
First, living with a parent or guardian getting child tax credit, where you were named on the award. And the household income used for that calculation is less than £25,000.
So child tax credit linked to a sub 25K income?
And the second one, living with a parent or guardian getting universal credit if the annual household take-home pay shown on their award statement is less than £25,000.
Wow, okay. Less than 25K take-home pay under universal credit. That level of detail is really something. It gives a very concrete picture. What about proof?
The guide does mention that evidence for demonstrating low household income, or any of these criteria really, will be needed later on, before they finalize any award.
Right, so you indicate it in the application, but proof comes later. Okay, that widening participation section in the guide seems incredibly thorough. What about the other side of the coin, merit-based awards? Does the guide give an example?
It does. It spotlights one called the Career Changer Scholarship.
Career Changer. Interesting name. What type of award is it?
The guide specifies it's an undergraduate scholarship, and importantly, it excludes apprenticeship programs. So it's aimed at those starting a degree.
Maybe people coming back to education or switching fields?
Could be the implication, yeah.
Yeah.
And the award itself, the guide says both first-year full-fee scholarships and partial-fee scholarships are available under this scheme across all their undergraduate courses.
Full fees for the first year. That's significant. A huge potential help. So what are the eligibility criteria for this one? It sounds different from the needs-based list.
It is quite different. The guide says you need two key things for the Career Changer Scholarship. First, same as before, you must have received an offer for an undergraduate degree from them.
The offer letter is always step one. And second?
Second, and this is the merit part, you need to get the highest score in their online assessment.
Ah, an assessment. So it's tied to some kind of test or evaluation, measuring aptitude perhaps, or potential. How do you apply for this specific one? Still through the main link?
You start via the main scholarships link in your offer letter, yes. But the guide clarifies that for this particular award, you also have to complete that specific online scholarships assessment. That score is the deciding factor here.
Okay, so an extra step involved for this merit-based one, and the guide gives dates for this Career Changer Award, which is super helpful for planning, right?
Absolutely crucial, those deadlines. For courses that start in September 2025, the guide gives a clear application deadline. Sunday, June 29th, 2025.
Okay, you need to mark that one.
And they even say when they plan to announce the winners. Thursday, August 14th, 2025.
That's great clarity. What about courses starting later, like January 2026?
For those, the guide just says the dates are to be confirmed right now. So something to keep an eye on if you're aiming for a January start.
Having those hard dates for the September intake makes a massive difference, though. Okay, let's try and tie this all together for you, the listener, based purely on what we've pulled from this specific university guide. What are the absolute must-know steps or takeaways?
Okay, boiling it down based only on this guide. First, focus on getting that course offer. It's the trigger.
Right. Step one, get the offer.
Step 2, as soon as you have it, follow that scholarship link inside the offer letter. Understand it probably covers most things in one go.
But critically, step 3. Check the guide's grid and look for those separate sections, the accordions, to see if any specific awards you're interested in need their own application process. Don't miss those.
Exactly. Then, step 4, really examine those eligibility lists. Do any of the super specific widening participation criteria apply to you? Or are you maybe targeting a merit one like the career changer, which needs that assessment? Know which path you're potentially on.
And finally, step 5. Note down any hard deadlines mentioned, like those June and August dates for the Career Changer Scholarship for 2025 entry. Be super aware of timelines.
Precisely. Using the guide's specific details, the offer letter trigger, those detailed WP lists, the assessment for the career changer, the dates. That's how you navigate this particular funding path effectively.
It's about cutting through the general how to get scholarships advice and focusing laser-like on the instructions and criteria laid out right here in the source.
Yeah, hopefully this deep dive has helped illuminate those specific mechanics and criteria described in the guide, making it a bit less like invisible ink and more like a clear map.
So to recap, we've seen the substantial funding, the mix of need and merit criteria, the offer letter being the gateway, those incredibly detailed widening participation points.
And that specific career changer example with its own assessment and firm deadlines.
And the so what for you.
So what is that grasping these specific details from the source, like the exact income levels for need-based aid or the deadline for that merit assessment, is crucial. It moves you from just being aware of the funding to actually understanding how to engage with this university's process as they've described it.
Absolutely. And maybe a final thought to leave you with, just reflecting on the source material itself.
Go on.
That list for the widening participation criteria, it wasn't just low income or care leaver. The guide lists, over a dozen really distinct situations, benefits, even specific income cutoffs like that 25,000 pounds.
Yeah, the granularity is striking.
What does that sheer level of detail in the guide tell you about how this particular university is defining underrepresented backgrounds and how meticulously they seem to be approaching their needs-based support strategy? It paints a very specific picture drawn directly from their own words in the guide, something